All right, I've got my 5 images. Now it's time to clean them up, finalize it, save it, post it, and know how to turn it into the cleanest file type I can. What can help within Photoshop or Photopea is to go to View and say 100%. And then you'll actually see the pixels of your image match the pixel resolution of your screen. And you'll see if anything just looks really off, right? I don't like this little tag of lines, and it's really tough to know what layer that comes from without turning on and off each layer, right? So it comes from this layer, but there's a shortcut to selecting that layer that I want to show you now. The only tools we've been using are the lasso tool and the move tool, which is at the very top, right? If I use the move tool, you'll see options for the tools at the top of Photoshop. This is the same in Photopea. And it will give me an option to auto-select the layer. If I check that and I use the move tool, it's really helpful because if I just click on that layer, it will take me to where those pixels come from. So that's a nice way to get to this. So then I can use my lasso and cut that little line out. Right. Now, I was going to show you another way to select pixels besides just the lasso, because I think I have way too much here. It's muddy, and that's going to happen with 5 different layers. So I'm going to reduce it to kind of my boldest lines. And now I'm going to select the contained empty shapes within this image. And instead of trying to lasso them, which is pretty difficult, right? I'm going to select the layer. I want to delete these contained empty shapes. I'm going to use the tool that's right underneath the lasso. And it might be called the object selection tool, but you want to open it up by holding down with your left click until it opens the drawer. And you want to go to the last drawer in it under default settings, which is the magic wand tool. Then for the settings for the magic wand tool, you want to keep it at its default tolerance of 32, but you want to check this box, which is contiguous. That means it will only select pixels that are touching each other, that are similar enough to each other within a 32% variance. Okay, now I'm going to click with the magic wand on the white pixels of this layer, so make sure you have the right layer selected, where they are contained. And if I turn off the eyeball, you'll see the selection that makes. It's much cleaner than I can do with my lasso on my own, right? Now, I'm going to hold down Shift, and you can do this with any selection tool, lasso, magic wand, and others, and I'm going to add to my selection. So it gives me a little plus sign next to the icon, and I'm going to add all of these. And this is just kind of an advanced way to kind of edit and cut through. We're going to get lots of practice at selecting in different ways. So Shift allows me to do multiples. I need them to be contained because if I accidentally click where it's open, like here, it's going to select all this space. And I don't want to delete that much. So if I go too far, I can always hit Command Z, or I can go in my history back one step. Now, if I want to actually see what my selection is, I'm going to hit Command 0 to fit it all on the screen and then turn off the eye icon. So I'm selecting all those shapes. This is what's cool. I can hit delete and it doesn't make any difference on this layer because all of that is empty space anyway. But I can move that selection to different layers and then delete it from each layer. Especially this one, right? And then what that does is when I turn the layers back on and I hit Command D to deselect, you'll see that it gives me that clear empty space all the way through. Now let's try it with a different layer. Here are some contained shapes. I'm going to use my magic wand. Same settings, hold down Shift, find some contained shapes. I don't need to do all of them, just the ones I think are interesting. And if I find one that's open, I just hit Command Z, hold down Shift, add some others. All right, now I take this selection and I'm going to delete it from these other layers. And I'm just turning them on and off so you can see very clearly what it's doing. And then I'm going to deselect and then turn them on. Right? You can see how it kind of opens up. And I'm just going to keep practicing this. Exercises are all about practice. So the next layer. You got to be bold at messing with this imagery. We're making it our own. We are trying to transform it into our own composition, not to preserve what we took in the first place. All right, now take that, move it through all my layers, and delete. Right. Now this one, hold down Shift. All of these contain shapes. Nope. 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 So if there's any gaps, it's going to select too much. And you're selecting at the tip of that magic wand. Nope. All right, and then I can move that selection through my other layers. And that's why we only do 5, because that's a lot to work with. Okay, now I'm just going to go to this, my heaviest layer, because I like how all of this is looking. And I'm just going to use my lasso directly and kind of erase it away in the places I don't want it. You know, like that. Doesn't need to be perfectly clean. That's why I'm not using a tablet. Maybe in here. Maybe in here. All right. And this could be cleaner. I could work on this and really refine it. But this is a whole lot better than it started, right? And I can go in and I can tweak it in little ways and keep making it better. But this is just an introductory exercise. So if I like this now, actually I think I'm going to delete all of this. There we go. No, never mind. Change my mind. Just this. Okay, if I like it now, I'm going to clean it up. And the way I do that is to make everything cleanly black and white. So, I am going to now hold down Option and then go to Layer Options at the very top of Photoshop and say Merge Visible. Holding down Option, Merge Visible flattens everything into one layer at the top. And let's say we have some lines that are lighter than others, some that just aren't as clean. This puts them all into one layer. I can turn off my other layers, even though they're still there to use. And I'm now going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. And I've shown this to some of you already because you had to clean up your reference, but this is how you can clean up the whole thing at once. This is called the histogram. It shows you where your pixels are in the image. This is black, this is white. I don't have a whole lot other than black and white, but what I can do is I can optimize the white by sliding that white triangle, it's called a slider, past where the histogram is. And that will force the pure whites to start here. Same thing with the blacks. Push that black slider past where they are. And now every pixel is going to be cleanly black and white, whether it's thick or thin. So that's step one. Next, I'm going to use the magic wand again, and I'm going to get rid of all of these white pixels, so I only have the black pixels left. But instead of having it set on contiguous, where it only selects pixels that are touching, I'm going to uncheck contiguous and click on the white, and this will select every single white pixel in the image. And all in that one combined layer. I can delete it so that's on normal mode, and all I have left are the clean black pixels. If I really want to make sure it's clean, I can then double click on the layer and do what's called a color overlay and fill that with complete black. Just in case there's any kind of stray gray pixels anywhere, that will fill them with black. These are all techniques we're going to be learning a lot more in depth later. And it allows me to just use one layer to delete anything I don't want. I don't have to search for the individual component layer anymore. Right? I can just get there directly. Okay, now I have met the requirements of the assignment fully in black and white. So now I'm going to save it. I can turn on my white background or not. It doesn't matter. Because what I'm going to do is now say File, Save, and that will update my PSD, which I always want to check is saving to my folder or to the desktop, right? It's actually best to know where it's saving. But a PSD file is what's called a working format. It's huge. This is 21 megabytes. It's too large to put online. And it's not an online compatible format. So instead, hit function F11, I need to go to File, Save a Copy. And I'm going to change it from a Photoshop format to a JPEG format. And the only difference is going to keep the name. It's going to add the word copy and then put a .jpg after it. Never type in anything where the period is, because that helps the computer to read the file. And if I'm going to save it, I'm going to save it to its maximum, like 10 to 12 quality. And it took something that was more than 20 megabytes and it reduced it down to only 3 megabytes. But more importantly, this is a file type that can go into Canvas and show up. So now let me post that. I mark my working formats as green and my online formats as orange. So I'm going to go to Canvas using Google Chrome, go to the assignment, exercise 1, and I'm going to start a post right underneath the directions with my name. And then I'm going to drag and drop that black JPEG of the assignment. It's going to be big. I'm going to shrink it so it's just a little bit bigger than my name, right? And then hit post.